Well, the time is just gone 8:30 a.m. as we continue this morning, taking a look at the State of the Nation address and the expectations. What is Cyril Ramaphosa going to say? What is so different that we can expect from Cyril Ramaphosa, and how is he going to address the multitude of problems that this country is faced with on more levels, on a political level, on a social level, on an economic level, a socio-economic level? There's just so much at this point in time, and this is going to be absolutely important, critical. All eyes on Cyril Ramaphosa tonight. But taking a look at it from an economic angle and what the expectations are from economists, we're joined by Director and Chief Economist of the Efficient Group, Dawie Roodt. Dawie, as always, good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much and good morning to you.
Yes, Dawie, everyone's talking about Eskom being the elephant in the room. But the elephant in the room tonight, Cape Town City Hall, is going to be Cyril Ramaphosa himself. What can we expect?
Well, yeah, this morning when I opened the newspapers, I go through all the newspapers every morning. I read an article about Treasury warning that they are concerned about, civil strife in South Africa. They're concerned about violence in South Africa. Now, the guys at Treasury are a very conservative bunch. They won't say anything like this if they don't have very good reason. And I'm afraid I totally agree with him. We are in very deep trouble in South Africa. We have very high levels of unemployment and poverty in South Africa. The economy is not going to grow this year. That is according to the South African Reserve Bank, and I concur with that. So economically, we are in very deep trouble. We all know what the reasons are. It's not only Eskom. Eskom, of course, is the big thing. And I think the president will say a lot about Eskom. But there are many other issues. Transnet is a major issue, and all the other state-owned enterprises, just about all of them. We've lost confidence in South Africa. You know what I also did? I had a look at the president's speech a year ago and see how many of those promises that the president made a year ago, many of those promises were actually kept. And I'm afraid I'm not so sure whatever the president says tonight that I'm going to believe any of that. For one, is that the president told us last year is that within 100 days we will have a new social pact. That's a year ago. Nothing happened from that. And so whatever the president says, and he's been saying all sort of things about the electricity crisis that will be fixed and jobs will be created and all of that for many years. None of that has happened. So I'm afraid I will be very, very hard pressed to believe anything that the president is going to say tonight. And maybe what I can also say is that the cabinet. We know that the cabinet will be shuffled a bit. And the fact that the president decided to wait until after the State of the Nation is a bit of a concern to me. Because he's going to tell us all the plans that he wants to make and everything that's going to happen this year, but he hasn't told us who the team is going to be. And I think that is crucially important. Who's the team that is going to implement all these plans that he's going to tell us about tonight? And there are many dead wood in cabinet. And if he had and if he made some changes to cabinet before the State of the Nation, then that would have proved that he is serious in fixing some issues in South Africa. And there are a couple of guys that he simply must get rid of. Guys like, for example, Cyril is a good example. Another one is Gwede Mantashe. He won't do that for political reasons. Another one is Ibrahim Patel and that. So if there's a cabinet shuffle and he gets rid of all the dead wood and he puts the country first for the change, then whatever he says tonight, I could have taken a little bit more seriously. But for now, I'm afraid I think he's going to promise us the sun and the moon and the stars as always, and not much is going to come from that.
Well, Dawie, when I look at some of the labels that have been attached to President Cyril Ramaphosa, from Rama Promise to Rama Lies and Rama Mattress and Rama Sofa, these are all labels that have been attached. And for the very reasons that you speak of, that he's been a lame duck president for a very long time, a sweet talker, trying to convince the nation with empty rhetoric all the time. And it's about time that the nation woke up and smelt the coffee.
Yes, and people are doing that. People are doing that. As an economist, what I do, I look at all sort of numbers and indices and that sort of stuff. And the various confidence indices in South Africa are rock bottom. People don't trust government. People do not have confidence in a country. Business don't have confidence in a country. Foreign investors don't have confidence in a country. And we can see it in all sort of other numbers as well, like the exchange rate of the rand, capital market interest rates, and all of that. So confidence is a major problem in the country, and I'm afraid we need to fix confidence before we can really start fixing the big problems in South Africa. And a suggestion from my side, and it may sound like something trivial or something that's not going to work, but there are many countries that's actually tried this, and that is it's called the so-called broken window theory, and they tried it in New York, and I'm sure you're aware of that. But basically what it comes down to is just tackle something, those small little crimes, those small little things that are wrong. Fix those small little things, because we need a win for the president. We need a success story for a president, even a small thing. Just we need a win for a president, and I think an easy win that's not going to cost us much, and everybody's going to support that, and the outcome will be there for everybody will to see. It's just to clean the place up. Start a campaign to clean South Africa up. It's dirty everywhere. It's dirty, and they do that with huge success in a country like Rwanda, for example. People in Rwanda are proud to be Rwandese because their country is clean. And if you clean the country, people, if you've got pride back, and then suddenly crime falls and everything else that are bad reduces because of a small thing like just cleaning the place up. Another good example is just launch a program to implement the rules of the road. We want to fix traffic in South Africa. Too many people are dying on the roads. Everybody will support the president in something small like that. And if he can do that and have success with that, then slowly and gradually confidence will creep back and we can start trusting government again. As things stand at the moment, confidence, as far as I'm concerned, is the biggest obstacle to the president and to the country going forward.
Well, exactly, and I think the saying goes in Afrikaans, "Biki biki maak meer," and this is exactly what you
Exactly.
are saying, Dawie, and this is exactly what it means. Instead of focusing on pie in the sky ambitions, living in a fantasy world, talking about smart cities, we've heard all of that before, and nothing has
Exactly.
materialized while the country continues to burn.
Yeah, yeah. A couple of other things, and I think I've mentioned this to you before about Winston Churchill saying about the Americans that you can always expect the Americans to do the right thing after they've exhausted all the alternatives. And in a way, that is what's happening in South Africa as well. And that, in a way, is good news because the president at a mining in Durban 3 days ago, he did mention private sector participation in mining and in electricity generation and in railroads and even in security. And that is the only way that we can get this country going as well, is to get private sector participation at all that sort of levels. I would like him to use the word privatization, but that's a swear word. In the ANC, of course, but that it is inevitable that if you want to have a success, you must get private sector participation, and they're moving in that direction after they've exhausted all the alternatives. But like I've said, I would have preferred the cabinet shuffle before the president made his State of the Nation address tonight, because that would have proved to me that the president is actually serious and getting this country in the right trajectory. And in order to do that, he needs the right people. He must get rid of the deadwood in cabinet.
But also, Davi, that private sector participation you speak of mustn't come as a huge cost to the country. And that private sector, like for instance, we hear about independent power producers, it mustn't come at a cost where you've got cronyism, you've got certain people, you've got close associates, friends, and also the president himself personally benefiting from a privatization.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. It must happen within a competitive environment, and that's part of the problem in South Africa. We don't have a proper competitive business environment in South Africa for all sort of reasons in South Africa. But you're absolutely right. But I can promise you, if the private sector starts producing electricity, it's going to be significantly cheaper than what we're currently paying for Eskom. People are looking at the price of Eskom and say they generate electricity at X price per unit, for example, but it's actually much more expensive because you and I, the taxpayer, actually subsidize Eskom behind with all sort of transfers from the Minister of Finance. So if we can get the private sector participation in a competitive environment, and that is crucially important, a competitive environment, then actually electricity and everything else will be much, much cheaper than what we're currently getting. Unfortunately, we have a government that's got certain ideological beliefs, and we've got a couple of ideologues in government, in cabinet, that's making it very difficult to move into a direction where we can get more private sector participation. Gwede Mantashe is a very good example. He did not want the private sector generating electricity, and he's one of the obstacles. The president must get rid of him But I don't think he will do that because of political reasons. But yes, we need a more competitive environment, which will also result in lower levels of inflation, which in turn will result in the Reserve Bank not needing to increase interest rates as much as they have. A competitive environment is that's what we need.
Well, Dawie, as always, we appreciate you taking time out, and I know you've been on your way somewhere. I see you in the car, so, but just for stopping by and being part of the broadcast this morning, we wish you all the best.
My pleasure, of course. Thank you very much.
Dawie Roodt was us this morning, Director and Chief Economist at the Efficient Group. We're going for a quick break, and we're going to be focusing on talking with Farid Wagi, wanting to walk again. And this is an appeal that is going out, and we will be listening firsthand from Farid Wagi himself to highlight his plight and why this appeal has gone out.